Chile here with Sirius Taurus Moon, and the moon is conjoining Black Moon Lilith, triggering that Mars squaring Pluto in a closing square Mars hour. In midheaven is 12 degrees Gemini, ascendant 13 degrees Virgo, and Mercury 12 degrees Libra. I'm going to say that without naming the religions or traditions, and I'm so glad I waited these 2 minutes for the midheaven to turn to a more benevolent degree. Now, here's the thing. I was having a um, very powerful energy message, and what I see towards and building up to 2026, 2027 is any indigenous belief society or elite society, not just Islam, not just Judaism, okay? That's important. Also, but not just. And I'm going to say it in a very delicate way. Between a baby having his not yet even to be considered a penis because it's just a baby being slightly cut, or a young girl that hits puberty having her clitoris mutilated, and a baby being baptized. The baby that's being baptized, that society wins. And do not for a split of a second think that when it comes to ritual abuse of children, any of those is not participating in that. That's why it's going to be on the spiritual level a Gog Magog. Because when it comes to a baby having his penis cut off, a girl has her genitals cut off, or baby being baptized, what spirituality, okay? What is more in divine connection with life? Those pagan traditions, and that's the thing about colonialism. The Indians used to burn the living spouse alive with the dead husband. All of those weird traditions are going to be megalitically scrutinized, regardless of where it's coming from. And people will not be able to hide behind their culture. If it's Islam, is also Baphomet. If it's Judaism, is also Islam. If it's Judaism and Islam, is also child trafficking in the Vatican. If it's child trafficking in the Vatican and Islam and Judaism and the indigenous tribes in Africa, okay, then definitely it is any type of governmental projects of forced sex change. No now, if the trans people are not going to speak up for the people that went through that, they are going to be with those people in the concentration camps. Maybe that's what happened in World War II. Maybe not. I don't know. There was a ghetto named Lodz. So when I talk about sexual boundary violation, of course, even in spirit and in matter, um, the extension of that is any type of practice that is of those practices, okay? And where even the most indigenous society, they know it's wrong. I've been in a place, and I live in Israel. A baby boy is born. Yeah, trying to attack my clitoris is not going to do anything but me speaking louder, the message being clear, and anyway, you're gonna find out 1-2 years from now that I was right. That's what happened with the Peter rings. I don't make it happen in that sense. Okay, I have my voice, and it's a part of the many people that have a voice. But sometimes I predict stuff and they happen. That's one of them. When I've been, there would be a baby at 8 days. They would have party, and they would slice a piece of the penis. The mother would have milk falling from her breasts in the trauma of the baby, being traumatized. The mother's being traumatized, the mother's being traumatized, the baby's being traumatized, and she's supposed to hug her baby as though it is okay. There is an anti-circumcision movement in Israel. And we're supposed to donate money to that. Now, mothers to change the diapers of your children. Yes, I don't know how to stress it. Don't kiss their balls. I know it's just a baby. It's not done from pedophilia act. Just like they're not gonna remember that. Don't ask how I got it. Of course, it's a study case. Don't ask what. Anyway, um, and vice versa. They call it private parts for a reason. Anyway, that is. Um, yeah, that's life. What can I say? Um, so those things are also going to be, you see, because when there is big wars, people move from here to there, and so on and so forth. All the weird customs come to the forefront, and people can't say, "Oh, we're not doing that anymore." The people that were, fragmented, the psychics, but they're attuned to that. They're sensitive to that. I was speaking about Africa, and I said something like, "It's not trying to harm my genitals." And I said, "Oh, I know what I need to speak about. Is those things that they do to young girls and to young boys." Now, the people that are within those societies, they will try to justify it as much as they can. They know it's wrong. Ritual sacrifice. Now, even the global societies, okay? Because right now, we're going towards having some whether it's going to be in many countries or whatnot, we're going to have a juxtaposition of a global society, and that does mean that the junk stuff has to be cleared, the junk timelines have to be cleared. Because some people see it as global society of slaves. And I see the moon with black moon Lilith when Mars is separating from the square to Pluto. You know how Genghis Khan took over the entire world? Because everybody was rapey. He had to kill his brother because his brother was from another mother. And in his society, a son could kill the mother if it's not, could rape the mother if it's not a biological mother. So for his mother not to be raped, he had to kill his brother. From that on, he went on to several tribes, and they were doing those weird rape things. It's so easy, like it's moral to kill societies that do that. The amount of suffering that the children go through, that the families are torn. Everybody's so susceptible to mind control that they're doing more and more horrible things. And then he tried to create a union, but the thing is that the Mongolian occupation is nowadays society is considered so terrible, is simply consisting of all the indigenous practices that Genghis Khan had along the path. And until the indigenous society doesn't come and abolish that, there would be this tribe colonizes that tribe, those people get it, those people. Those who consolidate their conflicts on the account of women, later they complain. We're moving away from oil into solar energy. Solar energy, for example, when the Bedouins in the Negev moved to solar energy because they were illegal settlements, blue ID, illegal settlements. Illegal in the sense if you build a house in the United States that is not off-grid, you consider it illegal settlement. Okay? There's a saying that goes, if a person is missing, he should build a tent in the woods and he will be found by the tax collectors. Not mine. Americans. So those Bedouins were found and they were using solar panels. They brought solar panels to Israel. Soon after, it used to be the case that Israel would give them land over every other wife. More women, more land. But Israel said no. Only one plot of land per household. No more polygamy. That way Israel ended polygamy. Girls that didn't want to marry were buried in the sands. They became dunes of sand. Sedna stories. What do you think would happen to that society if now there's still some people doing trafficking, targeting individuals, organized crime? It all starts from sexual boundary violation. All starts from sexual sovereignty. And for white people, it's comfortable. You give to the dark-skinned person, then they blame the blacks. Black Lives Matter. Before that, there was this guy sitting in jail. He had to join the Nation of Islam. Why? CIA. Why? Go figure why. When he got out of jail, he wanted to get rid of that Nation of Islam. Everybody knows why. Then he got assassinated. Malcolm X. Mormons. People are fleeing the Mormon church. They're fleeing the Mormon church like they're fleeing the plague. That was not an analogy. That's where the plague comes from. It's a military operation. It's a military operation. Inuits still have no food. Why? Because Sedna was trafficked. Later, it's very easy to say colonialism. The colonizers did that. Her father did that. Because he wanted to be with the Masons, wanted to feed the lower astral. Rahu in Pisces. We had an eclipse on Rahu in Pisces. Jupiter 21 degrees Cancer. Those that try to subjugate people's life energy, Kundalini energy. Here I have a Vedic astrologer, Karpil. Famous Vedic astrologer. George. He talked about work. He said nobody has to work under anybody. We have technology. We can do pretty much everything. Nobody has to be anybody's boss. Nobody has to have a boss. This man is smart. He's happily married with a dog. And he comes from society that says, oh, dogs are this, dogs are that. No. A pet actually gives wealth. It's the sixth house. So nourishing a pet is the health of the person. He is the happily married man making tons of money. You want to listen to this guy? Because the other class systems, one tip he has for good marriage, he says, for the man to take good care and massage the feet of the guru. The guru is the wife. The blessing is from the feet of the guru. Now, when you have in the Nova, people were cutting the feet of people and raping them. Now, anybody that would come to that program will say, kill all of them. I mean, if the Masons were sending indigenous representatives in the 13 colonies, no wonder that they said, "What, kill all of them?" They're like, people cannibalizing on their enemies. We have, when there was the global intifada, there were people in South USA, okay, southern people, rednecks, okay. They were telling it like it is. They say, I don't know who these people are. I don't know where they come from. I don't know the struggle. I don't know who the good guy, who the bad guy. I see people wearing weird scarves on their head, screaming in language that I don't understand. That's fucking scary. Out. He said it makes him wanna shoot them dead. He doesn't even know who they are. Now, of course, Palestinians have been living under this, da. But for the redneck that lives in South America and sees those weird demonstrations of people dressing weird, acting weird, they go to church every Sunday. That's just looking fucking scary. Kill it. Now, now, if you think about it, it's a normal human being reaction to something that they don't understand. Now, that person doesn't know that the church that he's going to might be doing the same things to children. And the connection between those brought those guys here to those guys. And those guys wearing the scarves, they don't know that their upper echelon is doing the same things to children as the Mormons. And people think that they could be hiding underneath, well, this is my culture. Think about it. A person sees a man is dead, the woman is buried alive, burning within him, with him. That's your culture. And then they say colonialism. Now, of course, it was colonialism. But also, that's your culture. Now, people are going to see when people are going to know about the White March. Think about why do they want to deport the folks? They don't want these folks to find out what happened. Because the death row is going to have another dossier. And there's so many refugees there that all they hear about is people criticizing their culture. Can you imagine? Listen to Anneke Lucas and figure what civilized society. Normal is niet normal. Now, think about the people going to therapy during the Me Too. Finding out their therapist just Mason Gurian death cult. They think that women are unequal to men and should be subjugated to men. Who gave this person license? The death cult. He had to do this for the death cult. Now, we understand that Mars is the last square to Pluto. The Sun, I think it's going to be November 7th that the Sun is going to trigger this point, which means Sun squaring Pluto, closing square. And that's going to be leadership. And then Mars is going to continue. It will sextile from the first decan of Sagittarius, which will be ruled by Jupiter in Cancer. That's going to, at this point, be closer to the trine to Jupiter. Then we'll continue to conjoin Pluto in Aquarius. Now, when people say not all people can be free, and we hear how many mind control handlers there are to our politicians, trying to take people's rights, end up in mass death. But the people cannot take people's rights either. You see, these are the times that nobody is faithful to any religion. People are faithful to where are they having a life that is actually good for the living. So the masquerade of religions, cultures, is, and even ancestry and bloodline. There are people who can't contact their ancestry in Europe because their ancestry was trafficking them. There are people who come from families where if the daughter would have a boyfriend and she's not married, the father would murder her. Murder his daughter over nothing. You want to tell me that those cultures will not be invaded? War, inflammation, okay? There's a lack of balance between a yang and yin. Now, art of war is supposed to restore balance between a yang and yin. But the sky that punishes the land loses the mandate of the heaven. And that's also when they do that to boys, the feminization. Soul hour. Probably soul hour as I spoke about the sun. Now, Venus is going to conjoin Ketu, so certain people are going to have a little bit of retreat for their vocal cords, or will speak wisdom that is needing to be said. Now here's the thing, those that try to silence people. Now here's the funny thing. There are many people that say, they won't silence me, but they silence women. So it's going to be a conjoining of certain people are going to rest, and certain people are going to speak even more truth. Anybody that tries to be controlling, those sexist, tyrannical, because now people begin to connect the dots. And when they begin to connect the dots, they connect it with the government, and they connect it with their bank, and they connect it with their work, and they connect it with their partner, and they connect it with their parents. And with their ancestry. Indigenous people in American tribes were telling me we were cannibalizing on our enemies. Black people, African people, saying whites did not invent slavery, but they were the first to even think to try to abolish it, to do something. There was a Malay woman that ended child marriages in the entire country. I think it was 2 years ago. So, and the rituals around the issuing of currency. All of these things are going to be tended to, and people that don't like it, and a lot of people, they like it, that Islam will be tended to. They don't like it, that rule will be tended to. We should all be liking it, that Islam will be tended to. That trick of doing an Islamic country that rapes, tortures, and I don't know what, and having a Western country that says, hey, look, we are relatively good compared to, it's not going to go anymore. Why? Because to whom they're doing that? The women. The women are not satisfied anymore with those tactics. They don't have. We have generation of women that don't have respect for their fathers, because why would a young girl respect her father if her father is trafficking? What's your father do for a living? Human trafficker. Oh, he's a professor of genocide studies. And what does he do for genocide? Young girls being born today, they don't respect their father. And it's not a problem. Why would she respect the person that's supposed to ruin her genitals, traffic her, forcibly wed her, murder her if she doesn't? Why would she respect the father? Women in Islam, they see, what is this dumb fuckery? They no longer respect the father. Now, a woman is as hard-headed as her father. It's true. Women are as hard-headed as their father. I see probably a lot of Islamic girls, a lot of African girls saying, you touch that girl, your dick is gonna get cut off. You kidnap a woman to be bride, they're gonna cut your dick off. And rightfully so. Nobody's gonna respect the father does. If you don't respect your daughter, why would your daughter respect the father? You don't respect your wife, why would the wife respect the husband? You rape girls, you traffic women, and you expect to be respected? For people to behave to you nicely? You try to justify rape with how a woman dresses or behaves? I said what I said. Mars is in Scorpio. And the women see it. Even the women that go, I see it in the supermarket. Okay, the cashier, when the rabbi goes, says, yes, rabbi, yes, rabbi. Suddenly, New Year, she's singing um, Jewish songs with the voice of a woman in public. She knows what she's doing. She stopped singing the song of the informants. It happened to a lot of women this eclipse, with Venus in Virgo and Mercury in Libra. They are purging the people pleasing. Oh, what will they do? But if there is a war, you're gonna have to maintain your sexual sovereignty, because this is how you manifest wealth. You're gonna freaking jerk off in the street and manifest something better. Somebody wants to do whatever, they're gonna get their dick cut off. My God. Yes, homeless people have sex life in the street as well. Homeless people self-pleasure. Homeless people have orgasms. And for those that were ritually abused, they attack the attackers. That's how they come out of those things. They don't attack the next child. In the beginning, with their children, unfortunately, those things happen. And then they attack the attackers. Try to subjugate women. What did women in Africa do? They don't want you to see that. They took a pack of men, worse than the Holocaust. They didn't have any other means, so they burned these men. Why? They raped a pack of men, like, I don't know how many men. That's the part of history that they don't tell, because they don't want people to know that people are doing that. Uranus is going to go over the last decan of Taurus, going to touch a degree away from Beta Persei, and that's the megalithic divine feminine rage. And this rage is not over nothing. This is why beta per se is associated with dead bodies upon dead bodies. Why? If Medusa Gorgon was raped, murdered for speaking up, not believed, then there would be bodies upon bodies, mass graves. Why? They raped! Induced psychosis, it happens somehow. Somebody takes some drugs. Somebody takes some drugs from afar and does mind control. Those working behind gloved hands get caught red-handed. And if a person cannot sleep a good night's sleep without being violated, psychically attacked over nothing, then there are Googleplex people in those situations. What's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen?